Hi guys, I hope you're doing really well. I hope you're taking care of yourself and practicing excellent self-care. If you're interested in coaching, go to coachkat.org and please like and subscribe if you're getting something out of this content. In this video, what I'm going to talk about is all the awesome things you can learn from being in these relationships and how you can have incredible growth after you get out of one of these narcissistically or sociopathically abusive relationships. First of all, one thing you're going to learn if you do your work is to trust your intuition. If you look back on the relationship in the early stages, your intuition told you that there was something off and you couldn't quite put your finger on what it was, often, especially if you were with the covert narcissist, but your intuition told you there was something not right here. And you stifled it. You did not listen to it because you probably thought that you had to have more information. And what I can suggest to you is that is enough information. If your intuition is telling you that there's something off about this person, you do not have to have further abuse or any abuse. You don't have to have any further evidence. You do not have to have a dossier that tells you about their infidelities or gaslighting, their porn addiction. Just listen to that little voice that tells you that there's something off, especially if it's like peculiar and it's like not exactly what you've experienced before. A lot of times, sometimes you could be dating a jerk, right? And you can see them coming a mile off, or even sometimes an overt narcissist. But with the covert narcissist or the sociopath, they're very hard to detect. But listen to your body, listen to your intuition, right? Also, you may notice some signs early on in the relationship of selfishness. And some of that might be quite subtle. It might be that they're always eating your food, free food, and never contributing. It could be just never giving, disregarding homeless people, not having any empathy towards homeless people, or any signs early on of low empathy. That is some things to really look for. And, a lot of times with the coverts, they can, or definitely with the sociopaths, they can fake empathy. So it can be very difficult to detect, but look for signs of low or no empathy. Like, how are they? Do they have a warm heart? Do they seem to care about other people outside of themselves? Or do they seem to have some selfishness? Look for that. You will learn, one other thing, early on in the relationship with them, if you would have set healthy boundaries, if you would have said no and stuck with your no, you would have probably learned some very useful information. Narcissists do not like no. They do not like boundaries. They will, run over your boundaries. They will agree to your boundaries to your face, and then they'll manipulate behind your back and figure some sneaky way around your boundaries. These people are boundary violators, or they'll agree up front and then they won't do it, right? Actions not matching words. That's another red flag. If somebody's actions are not matching their words, it's so important that you look for that you notice that and do not disregard it. Obviously, if you've been with someone a long time and 95% of the time, 98% of the time, their actions match their words, and a few times they don't, that's an outlier situation. That's different than when somebody's showing you early on some signs where their actions are not matching their words. Notice that. So these are all some of the things you can learn, like really learning to hone in on your intuition, learning how to trust yourself. If you came from trauma, you probably have a hard time trusting yourself. If you have codependent characteristics, you probably have a hard time trusting yourself. This is your opportunity to learn how to trust yourself, how to really trust your intuition and value your own perspective rather than always putting somebody else above you, right? And always thinking that they must have the answer, you don't have the answer. Learn how to trust your intuition and how to trust your body and how to listen to your body and to trust yourself. Other things you get to learn. This can be your opportunity to address the trauma from childhood, because quite frankly, most of the time in these relationships, we had a certain familiarity with abuse from childhood. It could have been verbal, physical, psychological, emotional, or neglect, right? And we had that familiarity. So when we met the person that had the character disturbance, the manipulator, they felt familiar to us. Just because something feels familiar to you does not mean that it's good for you, right? And so really hone in on that. And you get to start looking at that little kid that had trauma and abuse. I read that some people spend most of their lives thinking that they're inferior to everyone, aka the codependent, and other people spend most of their lives thinking that they are superior to everyone, aka the narcissist, sociopath, or whatever, right? And neither one is true, right? We don't need to be a 10 and we don't need to be a 0. It's okay to be a 5. We chop wood, we carry water. It's okay to be 1 in 7.5 billion. We don't need to be ultra special and addicted to being perfect and addicted to being special like the narcissist. And we don't need to think that we're the worst piece of crap that ever walked the planet like the codependent, right? And you see how this pathological giver, codependent, gets with the pathological taker, the narcissist. It's a sick dance. Ross Rosenberg talks about it. It's a very toxic dance. And, both sides, like yin and yang, but the codependent can change because the codependent, you are on these videos and you are addressing this. You are doing the work. You are getting the healing. You are starting to improve your self-esteem. You're starting to look at that little voice in your head that says you're not good enough. You do not have to be perfect in order to be loved. Absolutely not. And the more you learn to value yourself and care for yourself, then you're never going to allow yourself to be with one of these toxic people. And I am learning so much from this. I mean, for me, I've been able to already use a lot of the tools that I learned from this narcissistically abusive relationship to, protect myself in my future dating. When I dated people that showed some of the signs, I was able to very quickly exit those situations. Look for, in the beginning, if they are rushing the intimacy, if they're trying to have sex right away, if they are love bombing. Love bombing is flattery, telling you're so amazing, you're so perfect, you're so blah, 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 blah. Idealization. Now, when somebody idealizes me and I'm the unicorn and I'm on the pedestal, that is a huge red flag for me. I do not like it. I don't feel that it's sincere, and I don't like it, especially if they don't know me well enough to be saying that I'm a genius or that I'm just so amazing. They don't know me well enough. It takes a long time to get to know people, right? And so anytime somebody has you on this unrealistic, weird pedestal, I really challenge you to look at that and be like, whoa, 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 whoa. And of course, if you have childhood trauma, there's a part in you that can be very susceptible to love bombing because you are already telling yourself negative things. You probably had, caregivers in your life that were telling you negative things, or you had abuse. So you have a hole in you that's like, love me, love me, love me. And that hole, you get to fill that hole with your own self-love and God's love. And you do not need to have this outside person, especially somebody who's pathological, to fill you and tell you that you're great. You get to start believing that you're great, totally independent of other people. Another awesome thing that you get to learn when you get out of these relationships is you will get to learn how to love and enjoy your own company. I just got back from skiing by myself. I skied up to a mountain. I skied down. I just did a bunch of skiing. It was amazing. And I was by myself, and I loved every moment of it. And I'm learning now how to really enjoy myself, my own company. You will notice with narcissists, they are never alone. They have overlap in relationships. They act like they cannot stand people, right? They're disdainful of people, but they're never alone. Because if they're alone, they'd have to face themselves. And I don't think that they're willing to do that. It's pretty terrifying. I'd be scared too if I had to look in the mirror and see a monster. So yeah, they're never alone. Even though they act like they're superior and they're disdainful of all humans, they are never alone. You get a chance to be alone and to really start to love yourself and to nurture yourself and to start feeling good about yourself independent of anyone else. Now, what I'm learning is the more I send my authentic, true self to relationships, some people are not going to like it, and that is okay. It means that I'm sending my true self, and if they don't like it, well, that's their business. That's fine, because my people love me, and I have great connections with some wonderful people, and I know my people, and they love and accept me with my imperfections, because again, you do not have to be perfect in order to be loved. And that's some other stuff that you're going to start Learning. Another thing you can learn when you get out of these relationships is to address your codependence, to learn really healthy boundaries, internal and external boundaries. Learn how to set them, learn how to have them, figure out what your core values are. You're also going to learn how to avoid toxic people and to only have the people in your life that are healthy, kind, nurturing, honest, authentic, loving. You get to start being like, no, a lot more discerning, a lot more selective. And that goes for friends, that goes for lovers, that goes for everyone. You get to start being a lot more picky about who you have in your inner circle, because it is a privilege to spend time with you. And it's very important that you use discernment when you're allowing people in your life. Very important. If you tend to be codependent, you probably have porous boundaries and you just let everyone in. And that is not a very healthy strategy. Also, you probably have a lot of empathy. You're probably an empath. Empathy is amazing. Empathy is what is going to save this world, I believe. We need empathy, right? And these disconnected narcissists, they're disconnected from their empathy, or active addicts or sociopaths or psychopaths. Like, they're growing, it's growing. That narcissism is growing and it is killing our world. We need empathy to love other humans, right? It's so important. Your empathy is one of your great gifts and it's a beautiful thing, but your empathy needs boundaries. You need boundaries around your empathy, because empathy with no boundaries is almost suicidal. That's where people end up in mental institutions. Like, it's really wonderful that you have empathy, but you need to have boundaries. The empathy needs to be in a container, and you need to use discernment about how much empathy, you don't want to slip on your empathy or slip on your compassion or allow yourself to be abused because you have this profound overabundance of empathy. Another thing you're going to learn is how to be measured with your giving. If you give pathologically, and I mean that in this regard, if you're giving so much that it hurts you, then that's pathological giving. You're not helping yourself or others. So another thing you can learn is to have, again, a container and boundaries around your giving, and use discernment about what and how you give. And that is another sort of boundary that you can learn. So these are all some very healthy self-care tools. You will learn, if you choose to do trauma therapy or trauma coaching, you are going to learn how to address that childhood trauma and how to re-parent yourself. You're going to be the one that's going to take care of that little boy or girl that was abused, neglected, or hurt as a child. And I believe, for me, it's between me and God and my therapist I'm responsible for nurturing myself. That's my job, to nurture and love myself, and to not have an over reliance on other people for external validation. Codependents also have that. It manifests very differently than narcissists, but they still struggle with needing that to be liked, right? Narcissists more want to be admired or worshipped, with adulation. Codependents more want to be liked and to be nice, right? But either way, there's some toxicity to either method. So yeah, that's some stuff you can learn. You can learn how to use discernment. You can learn how to let people go who are toxic and not allow them in your inner circle, not allow them in your life, and to really start enjoying your own company, and to start nurturing yourself, and to start really, really, really loving you, and to figure out, what's so great? Like, if you're single after one of these relationships, you get to do whatever you want. I mean, obviously we're constrained by money or time or jobs, but you don't have to answer to anyone else. You don't have to be controlled by anyone else. You don't have to have somebody having power over you or negative influence over you, especially toxic people. So you get this incredible freedom when you get out of these relationships. And, if you start looking at it that way, like, look at the positive, look at the beautiful things that you're getting out of this, rather than, looking at what the narcissist did to you. Here's the deal. They didn't do it to you. They do this. This is just what they do. It's not to you. It's actually not personal. And I know that's really hard to accept because it feels very personal, but this is what they do to everyone in their lives. They do this idealization, devaluation, discard. They do it with friends. They do it with lovers. They've always done it. It's what they've done with all their past relationships. It's what they're going to continue doing to all their future relationships. It's just what they do. And there's very little help for them to get any sort of, reform. And if they're with a new source of supply, they're going to do the same thing to them, just like they did to the girl or boy before you. It's just how they roll. It's not personal. It's just, they're just toxic, and that's just how they roll. They don't know how to do it any other way. And unless they do some self-reflection or introspection and start looking at their addictions and start doing some work around themselves, then they're never going to change. They're never going to get well. They're going to keep doing the same thing. They're going to keep sending this false self, this mask to relationships. They're going to keep being a chameleon. They're going to keep mirroring. They're going to keep morphing into whatever that person wants during the idealization, and they're going to start devaluing that person. If there's a new source of supply, feel sorry for them. I do feel sorry for them. They did not get a good deal. They are going to suffer. If you're on here, you're suffering. We all know in this community, we know what we've been through. That's what the new sources supply is going to go through. It can be slow and subtle over time. It can take years, but it's going to happen. And if they're weaker than you, then that person might end up having it way worse than you did. Because if you're even on these videos, you're doing a lot of work. You're already strong. You're already a warrior. I know that. Like, you're already doing all this work. People that maybe don't have that strength or community or support, they're going to be in for a world of hurt. So I don't know if this is helpful for you or not, but these are some of the wonderful things that you're going to get that are going to be benefits when you get out of these relationships with narcissists or emotional manipulators. And I will do more videos on this. I'm kind of running out of time here, but I want to do another one on some more benefits of these relationships, what you can learn from them, and sort of the growth that you can have after you get out of these relationships. So I hope you have a wonderful day and you're practicing incredible self-care. Thank you.